So what we're going to do now is, yeah, this is neat and all. You can zoom in, you can zoom out. I'm just using my mouse wheel, and you can move it around. Vis.JS just takes a lot of the hard work out of this whole business. So what I want to do now is I want to take all of this and say, yeah, that's wonderful, but now I don't want to put the data right in my HTML. I want to move it back to an API. So I'm going to start phase 2 here and get this data moved back to an API. Okay, so for the goal of phase 2 here is just to get this data out of the web page and into the API and get the API serving that back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the index.js. Let me get rid of some things here. Okay. Right now, the only thing my web server is doing, and again, Express is my web server. The only thing Express is doing is just serving my static files and also serving my dependencies from the node modules. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new endpoint. Not user, use. That endpoint is going to be /API. And again, I have a request and a response. And all I'm going to do in this is I'm going to send back an object called data. Okay, where does the data come from? Well, we're going to create a global variable, and I'm going to use that in air quotes. It's global to the index. It's not global. We're just going to say data equals. So the data here is going to be completely fake. Eventually, this would go away in favor of a database, like a legitimate database. And I've got a few ideas for doing that in a later tutorial. We're going to have, you know what? Typing is bad. Copy and pasting is better. So I'm just going to copy the data here. I'm going to put it here. And back it up. And save it. So there's my data. I'm returning my data. So now my server should have restarted. Yay, it's doing its job back there. Now if I just go to /API, behold, there's the data. Now, I'm still seeing the data here. Now let's do something here to show, hey, this is different. Let's make strawberry capitalized. So when I go back here, I reload, you can see strawberry is not capitalized, so I'm not getting the data. So let's fix that. First things first, we're going to install, and save with 2 dashes, Jquery. Time to bring in the big guns. Yay, Jquery. And we're going to bring up my cheat sheet here. Oh, it's pretty easy. Go back to the HTML, and we're going to load Jquery as a script file. Typing is hard, so I'm going to copy, change this to Jquery. Thankfully, they use the same pattern. Just be sure, restart the server. When this comes back up, make sure that my console's clean. Reload it. Yay, clean console. All right. So now we're going to make this data go away. Bye-bye. And what we're going to do is we're going to invoke a get. So $, that's Jquery. We're going to invoke .get. And we're going to say, I want you to make a call to API. And we're going to assume that you succeed and return data. And that becomes my function. And from in there, that's when we will, let's see here, looking at my former selves thing, that's when we'll create our network. So we'll just move all that in there. And that's it. So I'm going to save that, and we'll reload that. Ah, look at that. We got our big strawberry back. So just to be sure, mix it. Reload it. Yay, we're computing strawberry. All right, so now the data is coming from the API, which is awesome. Now, in order to be able to manipulate these things and provide a base for which we make calls back to the API, let me go back into the HTML file, and I'm going to add a whole heap and helping full of functions up here. So we're going to start by creating a function and assigning it to a variable called addNode. Now, all of these functions will take in data that I'm going to either add or manipulate. I'm going to do something with it, and then I'm going to make a call back to Vis.JS when I'm done so that Vis.JS knows, yeah, you actually pulled it off. All right. So for now, I'm just going to say, you know what? I'm just going to call back with the data that Vis.JS gives me, which means I'm not going to be doing anything. And so we're going to do this a few times. I'm going to duplicate this a couple times. Add a node, edit a node, delete a node. Deleted. Delete. Then I'm going to take this whole thing. I'm going to reduplicate it. And this time I'm going to say edge. So these are the lines between the nodes. So now I got a bunch of private functions here that can manipulate things. So the first thing I need to do is when I get my data, I need to update the data, specifically the options in the data, and add manipulation. Now, if you're wondering exactly what the way this works, Vis.JS has fantastic documentation. Go read the documentation. Yes, I just did that. All right, so we're going to add a function called add node, and we're just going to pass in our version of add node. Now, I totally could have taken that function and put it right here, but that would have been a mess because I've got a lot of stuff to put in that add node, and I wanted to get that out and kind of isolated so it's easier to read. So we're going to do this for the add and the edit, paste, and the delete. And we're going to do that for the add edge, the edit, and the delete. Take off our superfluous comma there, save it. Now that's the same data options that's going to go in down here. We'll see what that does. Reload it. And we broke a thing. All right, what do we do? I know there's somebody out there going, you did the thing right there. You see, you got the thing. 24. Oh yeah, I got extra parentheses. Or parentheses. Yeah, parentheses. Save. Reload. Console's clean. And there's my edit button. No, I did not put the edit button there. Vis.JS put the edit button there, but that's what I like about the framework. It did the heavy lifting for me. The reason you see edit is because I added manipulation to the options, and as soon as I did that, Vis.JS threw a whole bunch of stuff at this thing and enabled things. It's awesome. So I'm going to edit that, and now I can add a node somewhere. Zoink. Hey, look, it's a new node, and it does things to the other nodes. I can add an edge. Zink. Okay, now what's happening here, especially when I hit add node and I go boink, and you see it's already got a label new. What happened was in the manipulation options, Vis.JS invoked add node, which called my add node, which gave me a pre-built node that already had new baked into it. And I could actually prove that by going in here and taking the data that it's giving me, taking its label and calling it stuff. And then calling back with stuff. When I save that, and I reload this, everything reset because when I hit save, it restarted the server. Add node. And there, stuff. Woohoo, we're computing. All right, so the idea is that it will give you its idea of what it wants a node to be. I can then make the node the way I want it to be, and if I don't want to change anything, I'll just let it be. And so in this case, I don't care to change it into a square or anything. Circle's fine. So I'm just going to change the label. So how do I know what label I want? Well, I can ask for it. So label prompt. Please enter a label. Oops. And spaces really don't matter here. Now, if I hit cancel on this prompt, I'm going to end up with an empty label. So if I say there's no label, then I'm just going to return. Now, if I return out of this function without calling callback, Vis.JS says, oh, well, then I'm done. In fact, it doesn't even say that. It's just done. So that means I really didn't want to add a node. Otherwise, I'm going to take that data label and use it. So now I can go in here, I'm going to refresh this, add a node, and blarg. And now I've got my blarg node. But it's not good enough, because if I refresh this, bye-bye blarg, where'd blarg go? Well, I was only manipulating the graph. I wasn't manipulating the data behind the graph. So when I refreshed it, it just disappeared. So that finishes up phase 2, or stage 2 here. So now I'm going to go into stage 3, which is, now let's actually start sending this back and adding nodes to the real server, and then we'll continue on and we'll do some more sophisticated things like editing and deleting. Okay, so now we're on to stage 3, and in stage 3 we're going to actually send these requests back to the server, back to the API, to actually manipulate the database, however fake the database may be here. So instead of just invoking the callback, what we're going to do is we're going to invoke a post on Jquery. And we're going to say, hey Jquery, I want you to make a post back to API/node. Now I'm going to start namespacing these things. So /API will return me all the data. But now I'm going to invoke a sub thingy on the URL and say, I just want you to mess with the node now. And I can call it whatever I want. I can call it Blueberry if I want, but I'm going to keep it node. And when I start getting into the edges, I'll change and use that API for edges. Now what will happen is I'm going to give it some data, which will be posted. And when it is successful, assuming it's successful, it will return back a result. Same principle here as Vis.JS interacting with this function. I want to do the same thing going back to my API. I will give the API my idea of what I want the data to look like. Now, the API might tag something else on there and return me back a slightly different result. And so what I will then do is take that result and post it back. Now I'm going to save that. I'm not actually going to make any change to that. I'm just going to return the same data back. But let's say I wanted to look for all the fruit that ended in berry and turn it into a square. Well, I could let the API do that, right? The API could set some sort of attribute, and then maybe I wanted everything that started with blue and colored it blue and everything else was orange. I don't know. I can do that if I want to. I'm going to go back to the API, and we're going to create a new endpoint. So we're going to say use API node, and actually it's not a use. So use defaults to get, and I think there's something I can do on there to say no, I want you to be a post, or I can just say .post. I'm going to say function request response. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to need to take the data that's coming in on the post. So we're going to take our new node and we're going to pull it off the body. Now, here's where we got to do a little work. If I save this right now, this is going to fail. And the reason being is that Express doesn't know how to interpret the body. It doesn't know how to interpret the various parts and pieces. It can do some basic stuff. I think it can, out of the box, read query parameters, but it really won't touch the body or the headers or anything unless you put something in place to do that. And that's where I need a body parser. So I'm going to shut that down, and I'm going to save body parser. Body parser is an extension for Express that can read any number of formats out of the body, one of which is JSON out of the box. So I'm going to go back, and up here at the beginning, before I start doing my data and after I've got all my static content set up, I'm going to tell Express to use the body parser. Now, the body parser, things can be URL encoded. I'm going to go ahead and put this in, and I will be URL encoded. There we go. Now, I'll be honest, this is one of those things I do because I didn't do it once and it didn't work, and I read directions and I ended up doing this. I don't remember why. There's reasons. I'll look it up whenever I need to. The thing I really need is this next line where I say, hey, body parser. I did a thing that was stupid. Body parser. I want body parser. Hey, body parser, I want you to decode JSON. This is still going to fail because I forgot something. Body parser doesn't exist until I define it, so I'm going to require it up here. Body parser. Okay, so define body parser. I said, hey, body parser, I want to configure you to not do extended URL encode for reasons I don't remember. But specifically, I want you to decode JSON from the body. I'm going to save that. So now, this line right here where I said request body, this will work now. And all it's going to do is it's going to take the request body and dump it out as a JSON object. So let's refresh this. Well, yeah, server stopped. Hey, let's do something with that. Let's just write it out. Console log new node. All right, and we're going to start the server. I'm going to leave this up here a little bit so we can see the server. I'm going to refresh that critter. I'm going to add a new node. I'm going to call it stuff. And there you can see there's my new node that came through in the body. And there's my label. It was new. That's totally not what I wanted. Why did that not say? I forgot a thing. Yep. Data.label equals label. Still need to do that. Server restarted. I don't even have to refresh this page because I'm just going to hit this. I'm going to say stuff. I totally need to refresh this page because it was a front end change, not a back end change. All right, new node, stuff. Ah, there we go. Label stuff. Yay, computers work. All right. So what are we going to do next? Now we got to add this to the server. Now, adding should be pretty straightforward, except I got to be careful. If I start adding a bunch of nodes that already exist out there, I'm going to end up with ID collisions, which could really create some problems when Vis.JS goes to read the data. So I need to do a little search and see if the node I'm trying to add is already there, which requires another framework. I'm going to install one called Underscore. Underscore is cool. It adds a lot of functional programming type things like map and reduce and filter and find, and I'm going to add that up here. Underscore require underscore. That's not right. Underscore. There we go. Now I've got underscore. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a search. I need my cheat sheet. I'm going to do a search, a find. Actually, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm looking for a node. So I'm going to do a find. I'm going to look through all my nodes. And for each node, I'm going to return a true or false. I'm going to return true if the node ID that I'm searching through. So what I'm doing is I'm literally looping over this, and this, and this, etc. So if the ID is equal to, and I want to do the super equals, new node ID, then return true. Otherwise, return false. And what's going to happen is find looks for the first thing in a list that you iterate over, and if you get a true, then it returns it. Otherwise, you're going to end up with undefined. So if I say found node, this is the point where I say I already found this and you're trying to add one, I would throw a hissy fit. I'm not going to throw a hissy fit yet. We'll deal with that later. We'll just return and say, yeah, it's already there. We're not going to do anything with it. Now, at this point, I didn't find the node. I got past this. So I'm going to say data.nodes.push. I'm just going to add this to the end of the list. Brand new node, new ID, add it to the end of the list. Save it. Oh, not done yet. Last but not least, I'm going to respond. So I'm going to go to the response and I'm going to send that new node dot end. I didn't change it. I didn't do anything to it. I'm just going to return what I've got. I could do whatever. You know, you can see out here in the what it gave me. It not only gave me the ID and the label, which is data I care about, it also gave me some interesting metadata that I didn't necessarily care about, like where Vis.JS was going to put this on the screen. I can manipulate that if I want. I can even take that out because I don't know that I need it. But there it is. Oh, start the server. So now, let's go in here. And we're going to add the node. We're going to call it stuff. Yay, I got stuff. But now when I refresh it, I still have stuff, meaning I've added it to this list. You can't see it because it's here. But let's go ahead and add another one here. Add another node. Things. Yay, we got stuff and things. All right. Now I'm going to open up a new tab here. I'm going to go to 8080, go to API, and here you can see the new node. There's things, and someplace in here there's stuff. Now this is just a demo. I'm not going to go crazy nuts on things because this is not a Vis.JS demo. This is an Express demo. I would probably want to remove the X and Y positions. That doesn't seem like the kind of thing I want to reload every time. But you do notice here that it did seem to go ahead and create an ID for me. That's cool. I actually didn't know it was going to do that for me. I thought I was going to have to generate my own ID. Let's see here. And I might have to do that later. Nodes seem to get their own IDs. I don't know if edges do or not. We'll deal with that later. Now I want to start implementing the other capabilities of nodes. Specifically, I want the ability to, let's say we did a post. Now I want to do a put. The difference between a post and a put, posts tend to be, hey, I want you to add something, right? So think about like in HTML, you do a post to a form. What are you doing? Well, you're adding something. Versus a put, where you're saying, here's a new version of this thing. I want you to put it on the server. So this would be for updates. Request, response. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the updated node here. So updated node, request.body. This is a change that we want to make to a node. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to have to do a search through all the nodes, find the node that I want to change, make the change, and then I got to return that back to the server. So I'm going to create a realized node here, and then I'm going to do an each. Use an underscore, a loop over everything. For each node, I'm going to say if the node.id is same as the updated node ID, then what we're going to do is say, all right, then take the node you just found and update its label. And then since I found it, I'm going to go ahead and say realized node. Is this efficient? Probably not. Is there a better way of doing it? Probably so. Is there some guy out there who understands functional programming throwing a hissy fit saying, what are you doing? Absolutely. Leave a message or something. Realized node. But it does work. Okay, what am I doing here? I'm taking the realized node and I'm sending it out. Again, I can make changes to it if I wanted to, but I'm not. I'm just going to take the node that I changed and I'm going to return it. Save. Now, in order to use this, I have to invoke it on this side. And here's where Jquery, you let me down a little bit. So it's kind of cool that I can do a .post. I can do a .get. I can just invoke Jquery right straight up, or Ajax right straight up, but you can't do a .put or a .delete, or at least not at the moment, not the version I'm using. So for edit, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say, you know what, I want to get the label, and we're going to just take this and say, we're going to copy that. I am going to go ahead and paste data.label in at the end here. What that does for the prompt is it says, hey, go ahead and pre-fill this. So if I just wanted to add something to the end of it, it's already pre-filled for me because this is an edit. I'm taking something that exists, I'm making a little change to it. So I got my label. Now I need to invoke Jquery. So now I have to call Ajax directly so that I can specify that I want to do a put. So method put. Say where I want to go, URL, API node. And I'm going to give it the data that I want to change. There's my data. And upon success, I want to take this result and do my callback. And then okay. Save. That should do it. So let's go back out here. And laptop. Okay. So let's reload this. Okay, I lost my stuff and things because my server restarted. But let's go ahead and just edit Blueberry. Edit node, Blueberry 1. And it didn't work. Why? Inspect. Server responded with a 500, which means if I look on my console here, it blew up. Update node is undefined. Updated. All right. Okay, server restarted. Reboot. All right, Blueberry, edits. Edit 1. Yay, it worked. Well, did it really? Let's reload. There we go. So what did it do? It went through my list, found the Blueberry ID, or the ID for that node, changed the label, returned that object, then I returned that back to Vis.JS, and Vis.JS updated it. All right. Last but not least, we want to delete. And this is where it's going to get interesting. I'm going to start on the HTML side here. In fact, I'm just going to take this block right here. And I'm just going to return that, or paste it back in. I'm going to change this to delete. Now, the only thing I need to pass in, I don't need to pass in the whole node. I just need to pass in an object where I say, here's the ID of the thing. Now, delete in Vis.JS will give me a list of things, a list of nodes and a list of edges that it wants me to delete. And I could invoke an API for every single thing that it gives me, but I want the server to take care of most of this, right? I don't want the UI driving this behavior. So I'm just going to send it the node that I want to delete, and I want it to also then delete all the edges. And I want it to come back to me and say, hey, these are all the edges I had to delete. I want the server to take care of that, because if there was ever any synchronicity issues between the client and the server should win. So I'm just going to send in the request for the node. So I'm going to pick the first one in the list. I think there's a way in Vis.JS to do multi-select, which is why it's an array. I don't have that set up, so I only select one node. It's going to be the first in the list. All right, so we're going to go back over here, and we're going to invoke the delete. Delete API node. Function, request, response. Get my semicolon in there this time. So now, let's see, bring up my working example. So this is where it's going to get fun. So first I'm going to find out what node I need to delete. Body.node. There's the node. There's the ID, the thing I want to delete. Now I'm going to set up a return object. I'm going to get this done right out of the gate because I'm going to make changes to it. So delete result. And it's just going to be an empty object, but I'm going to give it some nodes and edges. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a search for the node that I want to delete. When I find it, I'm going to put it in this list. And then I'm going to go through all the edges that reference that node, and I'm going to put it in this list. I'm going to return this list back to Vis.JS, and Vis.JS will then delete it on its side because it will have confirmation that it's been deleted here. So we're going to go through all the nodes. Do I really need all these updated nodes? The other thing too is as I'm going through and deleting these things, I'm going to create a new list of my nodes and a new list of my edges that I'm going to update. Again, there's probably somebody out there having a coronary because this isn't the most efficient way to do this, but I only have 5 nodes. Function edge. All right, so I'm going to go through each. Oops. I want to go through the nodes, not the edges. I'm getting ahead of myself here. All right, so first I'm going to find out, do I want to keep this thing? So I want to keep it if the ID of the node that I'm looking at is not the thing that I'm deleting. And that's it. All right, saved it. Now, if I don't want to keep it, then I'm going to add it to the delete results. All right, and then that's it. Then I'm going to return keep. Now, what happens is underscore filter, anything that I mark true will get added to the list that gets returned. Everything that's returned false is left out. So what I'm left with are the nodes that I want to keep. Neat. Which means I can go into nodes and say take my updated nodes, pass it in. Now I need to do this again. Take this thing and update it, and now it's updated edges. Looking over the edges, returning for each edge. Now my keep is a little more complicated. I need to look at my edge. An edge consists of a from and a to. So if my from doesn't equal that, I'm going to duplicate that. Let's see. Actually, that should be an and. I'm looking at my old code. My old code is wrong. Let's see. I keep it if the from is not equal to the data node, and my to is not equal to my delete node, not data node. Hey, I got it wrong up here too. Let's fix that. Okay. Nothing like finding bugs on the fly. All right. Now, if I don't want to keep it, I'm going to add it to my edges list. Edges, edge. I'll return the keep. That gives me, all right, so now I've got my updated edges. I'm going to take that and add that to my data. Edges. And then from there, I'm going to just, let's see here. I'm going to send back my delete results. All right, we good there? And we'll find out. So I'm going to go back over here and reload this. I'm going to delete strawberry. Now it should delete strawberry and it should delete all the nodes around here. So edit, delete selected. Ha! They're all gone. Excellent. So, well, let's find out if it's true or not. Yay. Okay. I'm going to reset my database here. Just restart my server. I want to look at the trace here. Reload that. Inspect. Look at my network here. I'm going to click on strawberry. And I'm going to edit this. I'm going to say delete selected. Boom. Okay, there's my delete. I passed in that I want to delete node strawberry. Good, good, good. And what it returned was, okay, well, here's the node I want you to delete. Yeah, that makes sense. And here are the 3 edges you also have to delete because they have strawberry in them. No, that should have been or. If the from is... No, I had it right. Well, Boolean logic. It's either right or it's wrong. Okay. If this is where I would keep it, then it's from. Okay. How did it work on my old side? Don't worry about that. Okay. Keep delete the results. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now I've got my post, my put, my delete. Life is good. Now let's do the edges. Let's get this in here so I can edit these things. Looking at my cheat sheet. Okay, adding an edge, pretty straightforward. Here I'm just going to start copying and pasting code just to get us moving here. So adding the edge, it's the same process. But this time I'm going to be invoking /edge instead of /node since I'm messing with my edges. Give it the data. It's going to result in the callback. I'm going to go ahead and put the code in here for, I can't select. For the edit. Again, it's the same, except this time I'm doing a put, and I'm giving it the raw data. And then finally, the delete. In which case, what I'm doing here, oops, I got more than I bargained for. I'm invoking the delete. This time, I have to pass in the edge that I want to delete. And that could be up to 2 nodes that get deleted when I delete an edge. I'm not going to have Vis.JS do that, even though it gives me the nodes it thinks it's going to delete. I'm going to let the server figure that out. So I'm going to save that and come back over here. And what we're going to do is on the post of an edge. All right, there's my post, and I'm going to get the new edge. So what I'm doing here is I'm cheating a little bit, but I'm cheating for good reason. Rather than looking for an edge with the same ID, this particular example, I can have multiple edges going between nodes in the same direction. So I'm just going to create a new ID. So where did that come from? Well, I got to go install something. npm install save uuid v4. So this creates a unique ID. Kind of come up here at the top. uuid equals require uuid v4. All right. So this will give me a new edge ID every single time, even if I'm using the same from and to. I'm going to push that. I'm going to return the new edge. So here's a great example of where I'm manipulating the data Vis.JS gave me in my API, and then I'm returning it. And then we're going to paste in another edge here. Now this is the put. This is where I'm going to update. So here's my updated edge. I pull that out. I go through and I search for the edge that matches that ID. And if I find it, then I update the from and to. There's my realized edge. And that's what I return. And then finally, now this piece of code was really about the same. So now it's complicated. Updated edge. Ooh. Okay, I lied earlier. I'm not deleting the nodes. I'm just deleting the edge. Though I could if I wanted to, but I'm not going to because that could be a disaster. All right. So going to loop through all the edges. I'm going to find it if I'm going to keep it. If I don't keep it, I'm going to put it in the delete result. Otherwise, I return true, which puts in the updated edges. Really, all I did was I took my delete nodes, copied it down, and took the nodes out. I save that, and hopefully I have a complete application that's totally not running. No. There we go. Please. Okay, so now let's go in here and add an edge between apple and blueberry. Zoink. Now let's go in here and let's edit that edge. Let's take it from here to kiwi. Zoink. All right, let's refresh. Is it still there? Indeed it is. Oh, it did a lousy job of putting things places. Let's delete the link between strawberry and blueberry. Edit. Delete. Delete. I have a problem. Inspect. Work. Okay, delete. There's my delete. It didn't blow up, but it didn't return anything. That's a new one. Delete edge. There's my results. Well, what did it pass in? Nope. Headers. There's my edge. Delete edge, delete result. Updated edges. Well, let's look here. If I refresh, nope, it's still there, so I didn't delete it. Refresh. Ooh, what we got here is a problem. Why didn't you delete that? Again, there's probably some guy sitting out there going, the thing, you see the thing, you did the thing, you didn't do the thing. Well, all right. Let's see if we can figure it out. So let's dump the logs here. Oh, you know what? Did I give these things proper IDs? Yeah, I did. I didn't. Hey, I gotta give these things IDs. Otherwise, it doesn't know. It just picks random numbers, and there aren't random numbers in here. So we'll just call this link number 1. That's unique enough. And we'll just do this across the board. 2, 3, 4. Interesting that Vis.JS managed to come up with some good data, but it didn't help me in that case. Reload. You go away. All right, let's try this again. Delete. Maybe. Delete selected. There we go. Refresh. All right, so add node. Now here, whoa. Oh, back. Add edge. Here we go. I'm going to add an edge here. Add an edge here. Add an edge here. We're just going to add edges everywhere. All right. Now this. Can I hold down the shift key? No, I don't have that. Okay. Delete selected. Delete selected. It's working. Yay. And so there you go. So recap. What have we done here? Well, we've got an Express server that's serving both data Plus, it has the APIs to be able to update and delete. We have a static web server using Express static. We've got a body parser so we can give data and to get parsed out as JSON. Now we've got a client that can respond to things. So this has given me a really nice base to do other tutorials. So future tutorials, I'm planning on having one that demonstrates middleware. So I can put something in here on every request response console.log and say you did a thing. Now on every single request here, did I blow it up? I did blow it up because I didn't do it right. Okay, there we go. Now every time I do a thing, I've got a message out here saying you did a thing. Add an edge. You did a thing. Delete this. Delete this. You did a thing. Eventually I'll get in there to show what the thing is that I did. We'll show how we can do this to do logging, to put some protection into the API so that people can't get in there and hack. We'll throw in some security, some SSL certs so you can encrypt the traffic. Yeah, we'll just kind of go nuts on this thing. Hope you enjoyed the demo. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, especially those people that know functional programming that had their coronaries. Feel free to leave messages and tell me the more efficient way of doing things. But hopefully we got a good base out here. Check the description. I've got the link out to GitHub where I've got this project sitting if you want to just pull it down and mess with it. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Enjoy.